You're sitting on the sofa, lost in your phone, your thoughts somewhere else entirely. And then you feel it. A single paw resting gently on your arm, or your leg, or pressed softly against your hand. You look down, and your dog is watching you. Paw still in place, not pawing, not scratching, just resting it there, as if to say something they have no words for. Most people read this as one thing. My dog wants something. Food, attention, the door. And sometimes that's true. But the paw is far more layered than a simple request. And where it comes from, deep in your dog's earliest days of life, reveals something about your bond that most owners never realize they're being told. This small, quiet gesture is one of the most intimate things your dog does, and almost nobody understands what it actually means. Stay with me, because near the end I'll explain how to tell the difference between a paw that means love and a paw that's quietly asking for help, and most owners miss it completely. To understand the paw, you have to go all the way back to the very first days of your dog's life, before their eyes had even opened. A newborn puppy comes into the world blind, deaf, and almost completely helpless. They cannot see their mother. They cannot hear her. For the first 2 weeks of life, their entire world is built out of warmth, scent, and touch. And in that world, they have one essential, life-sustaining behavior. They knead and press with their tiny paws against their mother's belly to stimulate the flow of milk. Think about what that means. Before a puppy can do almost anything else, before they can walk, before they can see the face of the one who keeps them alive, they are already using their paws to reach toward comfort, toward nourishment, toward safety. That pressing motion is one of the very first things a dog ever does, and it is wired directly to the most primal experiences they will ever have. Warmth, fullness, security. The presence of the being they are most completely bonded to. For a tiny puppy, the paw is the first tool they have for saying, "I need you, I'm reaching for you, come close." That early association does not simply switch off when a dog grows up. The nervous system is built in layers, and the oldest, deepest layers, the ones formed in those first helpless days, tend to stay with an animal for life. For many dogs, the act of placing a paw on someone they love carries an echo of that very first connection. The reaching, the pressing, the seeking of contact with the one who provides safety. It is worth being honest here, because honesty is the whole point of this channel. We can't open a dog's mind and ask exactly what they feel. But the roots of this behavior, in that early life or death pressing toward comfort, tell us a great deal about why it endures so powerfully into adulthood. Here's what makes the paw different from so many other things your dog does. It is deliberate. And that single word changes everything. Think about it for a moment. A tail wag is largely automatic. An emotional overflow your dog can't fully control. A yawn can be contagious, almost reflexive. But the paw is none of those things. Your dog has to notice you, decide to act, lift their paw off the ground, reach across the open space between the two of you, and make deliberate contact with your body. That is a chain of choices. It is an intentional act of reaching out. And intention is exactly what separates a simple reflex from genuine communication. In the scientific study of animal behavior, this distinction matters enormously. When an animal directs a gesture specifically at another individual, with apparent purpose, adjusting it based on whether they're being noticed, Researchers treat that as a real communicative act, not just a random movement. And dogs, more than almost any other animal on the planet, are extraordinary communicators with us specifically. Over thousands of years of evolving alongside humans, dogs developed an entire repertoire of signals aimed directly at people. Signals they often don't use the same way with other dogs at all. They learned to read us, and crucially, they learned to send messages back. The paw is one of these human-directed gestures. When your dog reaches out and lays a paw on you, they are not just idly moving a limb. They are deliberately closing the distance between you, choosing physical contact over every other option available to them, and in doing so, communicating. The message is usually some version of the same handful of things, all of them about connection. I want to be close to you. Pay attention to me. Stay with me. Don't go. I'm here. Don't go. It is, in the most literal sense available to a creature without language, your dog reaching out to touch you on purpose. And that contact does something real, not just emotionally, but physically, to both of you. This is where the science of the dog-human bond becomes genuinely remarkable. We know from research that gentle, positive physical contact between dogs and the people they're bonded to has measurable effects on the body. In one study, just 10 minutes of calm contact with a dog was enough to lower people's levels of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Other research has shown that even the simple, passive presence of a calm human can reduce stress in dogs. Contact, it turns out, is not just a feeling. It's chemistry. It goes deeper still. A 2024 study from the University of Jyväskylä in Finland found that the interaction between dogs and their owners is reflected even in their heart rhythms, with measurable synchronization between the two. When you are calm and connected with your dog, your bodies begin, in subtle ways, to move toward the same state. So when your dog lays a paw on you, this isn't only an emotional gesture. It can be a physiological one. They are initiating exactly the kind of contact that helps regulate both nervous systems at once, theirs and yours. And think about when your dog most often reaches out this way. For many dogs, it's in the quiet moments, when you're sitting still, when the day has gone soft and slow. Or strikingly often, it's in the moments when you seem upset. That paw, arriving in the middle of a hard evening, is your dog reaching for a kind of contact that, in a very real and measurable sense, helps settle a racing nervous system. It is comfort, flowing in both directions, through a single small point of touch. They are not just asking to be soothed. Without knowing the science of it at all, they are doing some of the soothing. But here's a layer most people never stop to consider. Before your dog ever reaches out and touches you, they have very often already been reading you. Dogs are astonishingly attuned to human emotional states, far more than we tend to give them credit for. They pick up on our body language, the slump of our shoulders, the change in our breathing. They read the subtle shifts in our face. They register the tone underneath our words, even when the words themselves mean nothing to them. And there is research suggesting dogs can even detect changes in our scent when our emotional state changes, picking up chemical signals of stress we don't even know we're giving off. In other words, your dog is, almost constantly, quietly gathering information about how you are. They are running a background process you're not even aware of, monitoring the emotional weather of the person they love most. So a paw placed on you in a difficult moment may not be random at all. Many owners describe the same uncanny thing. their dog placing a paw on them precisely when they're sad, or stressed, or unwell, sometimes before they've consciously admitted it to themselves. Every dog is different, and we should be careful not to over-romanticize it. But this pattern fits everything we know about how closely dogs monitor the people they're bonded to. Your dog notices that something has shifted in you, and they respond with the most direct, most ancient tool they have. They reach out and make contact. It is their way of saying, "I can tell something is different, and I'm not going anywhere." Sit with that for a second, because it reframes the whole gesture. That's not a dog asking you for something. That is a dog having quietly assessed that you're not quite right, choosing to offer you the one comfort they have always known how to give. Let me ask you this before we go on. When your dog puts their paw on you, do they place it gently and just leave it there, resting, settled? Or do they paw at you repeatedly, tapping again and again, insistent? Hold on to that difference because it matters more than you'd think, and we're going to come back to exactly why. Now think carefully about who your dog gives this gesture to. If you live in a home with more than one person, you've almost certainly noticed it. The paw doesn't get handed out equally. There is usually one person it goes to most consistently, one arm it returns to again and again. And here's the part worth understanding. This kind of deliberate, affiliative contact, freely given in a calm moment with nothing obvious to gain, tends to be directed toward the individual a dog is most deeply bonded with. The paw, like the gaze, like the following, like so many of these quiet behaviors, follows the bond. It flows toward the center of your dog's emotional world. And that center isn't always who you'd expect. It isn't automatically the person who fills the food bowl. Dogs tend to bond most strongly to whoever engages with them most meaningfully. The one who plays, who talks to them, who answers their signals, who shows up in the small daily exchanges that, to a dog, are the entire substance of a relationship. The paw goes to the person who has been most present. So if you are the one your dog reaches for, the one whose arm receives that quiet paw in the still moments of the evening, take it for exactly what it is. Out of every living being in their world, they have chosen, deliberately and repeatedly, to close the distance with you. A dog has only a small handful of ways to say what they feel. They cannot tell you. They cannot write it down. Touch is one of the most powerful tools they have, and they do not spend it carelessly or at random. When they place that paw on you, again and again, day after day, they are spending one of their clearest, most deliberate forms of "I love you" on the one person they have decided, completely, is theirs. Now, in the spirit of being honest, which is the whole point here, the paw is not always a pure declaration of devotion, and a good owner learns to read the entire picture rather than just the one gesture. Sometimes the paw genuinely is a request, and that is completely normal and nothing to feel let down by. A paw on your knee combined with a pointed glance toward the food bowl, or toward the door, or toward a toy that's rolled under the sofa, is simply your dog using their single most reliable tool to communicate a specific need. That's not less meaningful than affection. It's just a different sentence. And the very fact that your dog has learned this gesture reliably gets your attention is itself a quiet testament to how well they've come to understand you. They've worked you out. They know which button gets a response. The key to telling these apart is context, and this is a skill worth genuinely developing as an owner. A relaxed paw resting on you while the rest of your dog's body is loose, soft, and calm eyes gentle, breathing slow, is almost always about connection. A persistent, insistent pawing, tapping at you over and over, especially when paired with a tense, restless, or fidgety body, is far more likely to be a request or a signal that something specific needs attention right now. Reading your dog well is never about decoding a single gesture in isolation, as if it were a word in a dictionary with one fixed meaning. It's about watching the whole animal at once: the eyes, the ears, the posture, the tail, the situation around them. Here's a way to hold it in your mind. The paw is a single word. The rest of your dog, in that moment, is the full sentence that tells you what the word actually means. And now the part I asked you to stay for, because it genuinely matters. Once in a while, the paw isn't a declaration of love, and it isn't an ordinary everyday request either. Occasionally, it is a quiet signal that something is wrong. If your dog suddenly starts pawing at you in a way that's new and noticeably more insistent or anxious than their usual gentle touch, and it's paired with other changes: restlessness, pacing back and forth, whining, an inability to settle anywhere, or pawing specifically at a particular part of their own body, that is worth paying much closer attention to. Dogs in discomfort or distress will sometimes seek out their person far more intensely than normal, reaching for contact and reassurance in exactly the way they always have, because you are and have always been where their comfort comes from. When they don't feel right, they come to you. It's the most natural thing in their world. The guiding principle, as it almost always is with your dog, is change. A lifelong, settled habit of a soft paw resting on your arm in the evenings is, in the overwhelming majority of cases, simply affection, and nothing to worry about for a moment. But a sudden, new, anxious pattern of pawing, one that doesn't match your dog's normal character, especially when it shows up alongside other signs that your dog just seems off in themselves, is precisely the kind of thing that's worth a calm, unhurried conversation with your vet. There's no need to leap to fear. There is real value in simply noticing. Your dog cannot tell you in words that they don't feel right inside. And sometimes, reaching out and pressing a paw against you, that same comfort-seeking gesture they've carried since the very first blind days of their life, is the closest they can come to saying it out loud. The owners who catch these things early aren't the lucky ones. They're simply the ones who know their dog's normal well enough to feel it the moment something shifts. So the next time you're sitting quietly, your mind somewhere far away, and you feel that gentle weight settle onto your arm, that single paw resting softly against you, asking for nothing at all, remember what is really happening underneath it. Your dog is reaching back across their entire life to the very first gesture they ever made, the one that once meant warmth and milk and safety, and the presence of the one who kept them alive. They are choosing, deliberately, with intention, to close the space between the two of you. They are offering you the most direct comfort they know how to give, the same comfort that settles both your hearts at once. And out of every place in the entire room they could have rested that paw, every surface, every direction they could have turned, they reached for exactly one: you. They didn't reach for the cushion beside them. They didn't reach for the warm floor. They reached for you. And they will go on reaching for you, quietly, faithfully, for the whole of their life. If this changed the way you see that paw on your arm, leave a like and subscribe. Every video here is built on what the science actually says, and honest about where the science runs out, never on what we simply assume. And tell me in the comments, where does your dog rest their paw, And do they leave it there gently or tap at you for attention? And if you've ever wondered why your dog leans their full body weight against your legs, as if they're trying to melt into you and become part of you, that's the next video. What it really means is something you'll feel every time it happens from now on.